Hey, what's happening? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Let There Be Talk. It's August 29th, a Thursday, and it's another beautiful day here in Hollywood, California. Got a great episode here today. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I had a guy on by the name of Marc Canter. If you don't know who that is, which most of you probably don't, his family owns Canter's Deli in Hollywood, which to me is just as much rock and roll as the Rainbow Bar and Grill is. Canter's is open 24 hours a day. It's been around since 1931 or something like that. It's been a mecca of rock and comedy for years. Comedians go eat there after the Comedy Store gigs. Back in the 70s, it was huge. Then in the 80s, it had a resurgence again. They got a little bar in there called the Kibitz Room. Wallflowers would play in there, do full-blown jams on, I think it was like Tuesday nights. So Marc Canter is the son of the owners who grew up with Slash, Saul Hudson, who is Slash. They went to school together since, I think he said, the third grade, and they're best friends, and he basically kind of funded a lot of the early Guns N' Roses stuff, like their flyers, their ads in Bam Magazine. He took photos of them, he audio documented them, he video documented them. He was there since day one of Guns N' Roses. He has an amazing book I recommend you get. You can get it, it's Reckless Road is the book. Mark has a full-on store on eBay. Marc Canter is the seller. That's the seller name. He took some amazing photos. I got some photos from him. He has photos of Slash playing in high school in his first band. He took some amazing photos of GNR, like their first band, like band photo backstage, photos of them at the Troubadour, street scene, the Roxy. This guy was there. He's the real deal. His family's been around rock and roll all their life. He was an amazing guest. I was pretty fired up to fucking have him on. I love rock photography. My house is loaded with it. It just tells stories. I can look at rock photos for hours. It might sound boring to you, but whatever you're into, just, consider that your rock photography. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but sit back and tune in. Thanks, everybody. I've been getting some great emails lately. Every day I get an email from you guys saying you love the show. That is just unbelievable. I love it. If you want to donate to the podcast, help out, a little money, Dean Delray at yahoo.com. Hit me up. Make a donation. I got a donation a couple days ago. I want to have his name on here. Oh, man. I feel like a dick. He bought a hat from me. I have some Let There Be Talk hats now. He bought a hat, and he donated money. Let's see who it was. Man, I feel like a clown. Can't find it. Maybe I'll find it. While I'm looking for that, just give you some upcoming dates coming up. I'm going to be at the Comedy Store this Saturday night, 11 p.m., a great spot. Come down and see me, say hey. 11 p.m. this Saturday at the Comedy Store. Also, Sammy Obey tickets are still on sale. Sammy and I are going to be doing Largo September 20th. Come out for that. That'll be fun. It's a special night. Sammy celebrates 1,000 days of comedy in a row. So that it's pretty damn cool. Oh, I got the guy's name right here. And I don't know how to say his last name. Michael Tijeben or something. Tjebben. Tijeben. Hey, Michael Tijeben, how you been? I don't know how to say it. I feel like a dick, but he donated money and bought a hat. Thank you, Michael. You rock. This episode, like all month of August, is brought to you by Ironheart. Ironheart Clothing. These guys rule. I wear their clothes everywhere. They have the best denim on the planet. It's Ironheart Clothing. And the guy's name is Giles. You want to check out his website, go to ironheart.co.uk and check it out. That's enough bullshit. Sorry. Check out the episode. Marc Canter. Here he is. Man, you guys rock. All right, here we are, another episode of Let There Be Talk. Got a great guest today. My guest is Marc Canter, right?
How you doing?
Yeah, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good. I've been working to the bone the last couple of weeks.
And what do you do?
I run things over at Canter's Deli, my family's business. But I do, besides restaurant stuff, I do actually physical maintenance, refrigeration, plumbing, electrical. And it's just been a crazy 2 weeks of nonstop repairs and new construction. We just put in a new 8-beer tap system in the bar, and just a lot of work, a lot of refrigeration, a lot of moving things around and building shelves to make that
right.
I mean, because you need backup kegs. So there's like a walk-in box that used to carry 3 kegs of beer. We had Coors on tap, now has 18 kegs of beer.
Wow.
So to make that work and still function normally is not, it's a little bit of a trick.
Yeah. So people that are tuning in right now are going, why the fuck do you got this guy on? You know what I mean? The reason is, if you aren't from Los Angeles, Canter's is pretty much, I would say, a heart and soul of rock and roll. For many years, I met Jacob Dylan there. The Kibitz, it has a bar in there called the Kibitz Room, and that is where a lot of bands would play over years. Even right now, Tuesday nights, my buddy Brad Watson, who plays keyboards at the Comedy Store, has a band there on Tuesdays.
Right,
they do comedy there.
They're called the Fockers, Friends of Canter's Kibitz Room. The Kibitz, I mean, the bar really opened in 1961, and we had, through the mid '60s, you had a lot of. Pretty much the whole hippie scene, from say 65 to say 1970, the Doors, Janis Joplin, the Mamas and Papas, Frank Zappa, just you name it, they all hung out there.
Now, why did they hang out there?
Well, for one thing, the food was good. It was 24 hours. It was only us and Ben Franks pretty much that were open after 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. We have a seating capacity of like 350 people, and it's just the food is a one-of-a-kind food. So besides the fact we got you cornered, there's nowhere else to go. We're open 24 hours, and that works, for pretty much anybody. And
it's a Jewish deli.
It's a Jewish deli, and back then, a lot of people, hippies were a little scary looking for some people, some establishments, but we never had problems with them.
Now, why is that? Was your family cool? Were they hippies? Were they into rock and roll? Because this fucking place is rock and roll. I mean, if you read the I'm Dying Up Here book, the Comedy Store book, and you read about in the 70s, all the huge comics would go there, like Letterman and Robin Williams, all those guys, after the sets, they'd go there all night.
Starving comedians, always.
Always.
Seinfeld, they're all there, all of them. I've met them all, and they all love Canters, and it was like what they did after they worked. They came to Canters and hung out a couple hours before they went home.
Right.
But I mean, you had a lot of bands that would eat there also, throughout the 70s and 80s, and it's got a huge rock and roll background, although it's not necessarily from my family. It probably starts with me because I grew up with Slash.
Right.
But other than that, there wasn't an interest. It's just what drew the crowd was, I think, because of the night. It's only also movie stars too, but I think just because the fact we were open 24 hours. I mean, I read an article in Rolling Stone about Neil Young article about 3-4 years ago. And he said when he moved here from Canada in 1966, he drove a hearse. And the first thing he did was drive patrons from Canter's Deli to the Sunset Strip back and forth for $1 a ride. So in a way, he was our independent contractor.
That's amazing, right? He's just carting in cool people for you.
Yeah, and then when he saved up enough money, he was heading up to San Francisco to start a band. And he, literally at a traffic signal, he met Steve Stills, and that was, they started something with that. But it's just, there's a lot of history there.
It is, man. I mean, Canter's is, It has a special place in my heart. It's basically where I met Jacob Dylan. I didn't really meet him. What happened was I played a gig at what's the place called? It's on Pico. The Mint.
Right, I knew that.
So it was when it was the shitty, really small one. And after we played, Rami Jaffe was like, hey, we're all going to Canter's, meet us over there. So we went over there. And I sit down and I start talking to this guy who's like extremely good looking. He looks great. And I'm all, yeah, I'm Dean. He's all, yeah, I saw your band tonight. You guys are good. I'm Jacob. And then I realized, well, this is fucking Jacob Dylan. I didn't really put it together for a minute, you know, but he met his wife in there.
He met his wife there, Paige. He's a nice guy. I still see him now because my son is friends with with his kid. Actually,
Right.
His kid's in a band now.
Yeah, Levi.
Yeah, and so it's a small world, you know.
It really is. I mean, I think about like that day I met Jacob, and we've been best friends ever since. I went on tour with him 20 years, or not 20, like 10 years later.
Well, let me tell you a quick story since you brought that up. The Wallflowers actually got the music going in the Kivitz. Well, I shouldn't really say that. A waiter named Eric Gold that used to be work for Canter's, he started the Kivitz for music going in 1989, just doing some jazz on Monday nights. But the Wallflowers were hanging out there to drink because our beers were $1.20 or $1.30 tap beers. And they saw this guy do his jazz and they thought, wow, can we come tomorrow and do some like rock and roll? And I said, sure, why not? I knew Rami from Fairfax High School.
From school.
I'm a few years older, but I still knew him, same crowd, same friends. And I said, sure, why not? So what happened is the next night he showed up with like 40 people, all musicians, or mainly musicians. And what they did is the Wallflowers jammed, but they didn't jam as a band.
They just had that thing where they would circle in dudes.
Right. So it was never more than two of them on stage at once, but two at least of one band. It was just like a whole, like maybe 12 musicians on stage doing, 60s and 70s cover songs and having fun. Sometimes the songs would even fall apart because not everyone really knew how they went.
That's right. But it was just this beautiful scene. I would go there, I mean, bands are playing. I really learned about music there other than rock and roll. I was just this rock metalhead. I was into rock and like Metallica and all that. But then I started finding out about the band, George Harrison solo stuff. They were playing that kind of stuff. And I was like, man, this is great shit, man. Yeah. And it was such a scene, man.
They had a good range. That group of musicians really had a good feel for good music. And you just can't believe they were like 23 years old at the time, and you don't see that really these days. These days, music is all weird, and you can't even pronounce the name of these bands, and you go to these festivals, and there's 120,000 billion bands playing, and who are these people? And
they're just like shells, right?
Yeah, a lot of it's electronic music, and even if it's real music, they don't have an image. It seems like it's just not, you don't. There was a time when you went to Westwood here and you bought a poster on a Friday night and you came home, you put it on your wall, and it was, Zeppelin or Kiss or Aerosmith or Rush or something, and there was something cool about it. There was an image going on. You could identify every member of the band.
Bands were like gangs. Like if you see the Wallflowers, you go, oh, that's fucking Wallflowers, because they had like suits, they had cool hats and shit. You see Guns N' Roses, that's Guns N' Roses, man. They go, oh, that guy's in GNR. You could they're like gangs.
Guns N' Roses was one of the last bands.
That's right.
I mean, Kurt Cobain kind of killed that rock star image, although he had a rock star image.
He did.
But he killed it as he still was it at the same time, and just changed everything. And I went to see Rage Against the Machine and Muse at the Coliseum.
I went to that a
year or two ago, or whenever that was.
Did you like it?
I don't even go to shows that often. Although I did go see System of a Down, and that I was happy with.
Yeah, that's fucking sick, right? Hollywood Bowl?
No, I saw them at the Forum.
Oh, at the Forum, okay.
Yeah. But anyways, back to Muse. I liked their music, but I didn't like their show because I'm looking and it was boring. They didn't look like anybody. They didn't dress like anybody. They got up there. The music sounded fine. If I'm blind, it's perfect.
Yep.
But I wasn't enjoying what I was seeing. Then Rage gets up, and even though they don't have that rock star image kind of a thing, they were bouncing and there was energy. And
Yeah, they fucking destroyed.
Yeah.
Every time I see Rage, I just talked about it. We had a segment on the show where Rolling Stone magazine named the top 10 live acts, and they had Rage number 10, and I was like, fuck yeah. I mean, I've seen Rage, and you see them, and you can't believe what's coming off the stage. It's like each show's their last.
100% energy. But other than that, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't felt that energy in many, many years. Many years. You just don't see it anymore.
Yeah, you don't. And I think it's mostly because rock back then was you played it because it was in your blood. And you didn't care what happened the next day. You don't care if you get a deal or whatever. It's these 5 guys. You're out. You're gonna go play the gig. You're gonna rock. That's what you do. Meet some girls. Maybe have some drinks. And that was your life.
It was an attitude. It was that whole thing was an attitude. It was not only were they, you find a good bands that are fit with each other, how to write songs and sing, good vocals and strong guitar and whatever, but it was an attitude that went with it that helped your image. And now you might find some good songwriters, you might find some good vocalists, you might find even some good guitar players, but you don't find bands that have the combination of all 5 elements together. It's just, like Led Zeppelin had.
Yeah, they're the best.
And there wasn't, if you listen to any Zeppelin album, you're not going to find one song that you would prefer not to be there. It
doesn't even matter. I remember one time Henry Rollins called In Through the Outdoor the worst Zeppelin song ever, and I was like, that would be anybody's best song. Right?
Well, okay, I'm going to exclude Coda from that because there's probably a few things on there.
Well, that's just kind of a junkyard of whatever.
That they would have been better off not even putting that out. But other than that,
yep.
You put on any Zeppelin song from any album and hit random, and it doesn't matter. It's all good.
It's all fucking great.
And that's what when I was hanging out with Slash and following him up, from 1981 when he started playing guitar. There was a certain, I knew he had the talent, and I because he was a great drawing artist before that, and we raced BMX together, and
yeah.
He was a little quicker, and his tricks were a little better, and he just something superhuman about him. And
well, let's talk about this a little bit because that's the reason I got you on the show. Of course, Canter's is a big part of my life. I love it and everything, but basically. You and Slash, you went to school together or whatever?
Went to 3rd Street Elementary School together in 1976.
And that's when you first met him and you guys hit it off as friends?
He was trying to steal my motorbike.
Really?
Yeah. It was parked at the KFC on 3rd and Fuller. I was in there getting some things. He was walking by, saw it thinking of stealing it, looked inside to see who it is, who's watching, and then he said, oh, I recognize that kid because we went to school together, although I never spoke with him before.
Right.
That. So he realized instead of trying to steal it, why didn't he just ask me if he could write it? And turned out he only lived a block away. And, we started carpooling to school and we became friends instantly.
Where'd you guys grow up? What neighborhood?
La Brea and 3rd, that area.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Jewish neighborhood over there.
Yeah. Kind of like right where Chuck's liquor store used to be there.
Right. And so you guys hit it off then, and are you guys listening to rock and roll together, or are you just BMX guys?
No, we're just friends, and then BMX came in like literally 2 years later.
Yep.
And then we did that together, and just hanging out. It wasn't really music yet because we went to John Burroughs after 3rd Street. We both went to John Burroughs Junior High School. But and somewhere about the 8th grade, he got kicked out for probably at bad attendance or something.
Right.
And went to Bancroft. So we kind of split for about a year, and we just lost touch. And then in that year, he started playing guitar, and he started getting interested in Aerosmith and Zeppelin and AC/DC and all those bands. And I also coincidentally liked exactly the same music, and we each didn't know that we were into exactly the same thing.
Right.
Then we found each other at the end of the 9th grade, the summer of the 9th grade. We were both ended up at Beverly Hills High School for the 10th grade, but our mothers both put us for, that summer school so you get used to the school. And we bumped into each other at summer school. And I had like an Aerosmith shirt on. He was like, oh, totally, whatever.
Yeah.
So we caught up. We did a little catching up, and then he said, I'm playing guitar now. I'm in a band, Titus Sloan. Come check us out. We're having rehearsal today. So I immediately knew instinctively that it was going to be good. And I showed up at that rehearsal. Of course, I was blown away. They didn't have a singer yet. It was just a 3-piece.
Right. And Slash had like crazy short hair because I saw some early photos of him. He kind of had like a small like fro. He looked. I saw some of your pictures.
Yeah.
No tattoos, of course, all that. Just a first band kind of high school thing.
Right. And so I kind of supported him and helped him out with equipment and whatever, flyers for gigs and just whatever.
You were like his roadie or whatever?
No, just his friend that also knew that he needed to get his music out. So I had the means of helping him do that, driving him to rehearsal, buying him food, whatever. Just whatever it took to get to the next gig.
Now, wait, Slash's parents, weren't they rich?
No.
I thought like his mom was in the business or so. Oh, no, that's Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah.
Lenny Kravitz's parents were in the biz.
His mom designed clothes for like David Bowie.
That's right.
Different, and his dad actually was in the business too. He did record covers, artwork, and that, for record companies, but always month to month. And there was a lot going on. There wasn't much money, but
is Slash only child?
No, he's got a brother. Actually, his brother is now named Ash, but he picked that name before Slash got famous.
Right.
But his real name was Albion. He just didn't want to go with Albion, so he went with Ash. It's so Slash and Ash.
Slash and Ash. I got a buddy named Ash. He was in a band. I think there's guys that... Ash is a cool name, man. It's not around. You know what I mean?
Right.
I dig it.
Totally.
So is the brother older?
Younger. Yeah. When we were like
younger.
in the 6th grade, he was in the 1st grade. So
wow.
We're like 5 years older.
Right. So he starts rolling in this band, and then that.
What happens is he's frustrated, can't really find a singer. Finally finds a singer, but it's not really clicking. And then he realizes that the only way it's going to work is if he finds what he called a professional singer, someone that plays like the Troubadour, the Whiskey, and that can get out and entertain a crowd and have good range. And we heard this band Rose was playing at Gazzar's, and at the time it was Izzy and Bill. It wasn't even Axl yet. And he said, I heard this band.
Oh, he's going by Bill?
Yeah, this band called Rose, and I'd love to get Bill and Izzy in my band or join with them or something. And so we went to see him with Steven Adler. Steven Adler was already hanging out with Slash and drumming. And for $1 to get into Gazzar's, I think they were doing a night where every band plays 3 songs.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
One of those.
Yeah, it was like a Monday night. It was like 18 bands or something. Right. Bill Gazzari would have a thing.
And I just remember seeing Izzy flying around with his guitar and Axl just vibrating, just belting out these extreme, gnarly vocals with his veins popping out of his neck. And it was just intense. And right away it caught our attention, and so Slash met with him afterwards, and they decided to put Slash or change Rose, or it might have been called Hollywood Rose at that time, and call it the new Hollywood Rose. And they made some changes. They added Steven and Slash, and they got rid of their drummer and their guitar player Chris Webber. And somehow a new bass player came, Steve Darrell at that time, who wasn't at that gig, so somehow they conjured him up.
Where's Tracy Guns at this time?
Tracy Guns is in, this is in 1984. Tracy Guns is probably just in LA Guns.
Right.
Oh, I'm trying to think for a second. Or about to start LA Guns, right around, right in that time, because what happened was Hollywood Rose got together with Slash anyways around May of 84, and they disassembled in August. I think August 25th was their last gig.
Right.
And it just fell apart. And what happened was Axl ended up joining Tracy.
I see. So this band's before they fall apart. Then he joins with Tracy.
He joined LA Guns, plays 2 gigs at the Troubadour, October 5th and October 12th of 1984. I was at those gigs at midnight. And that fell apart real quick. And don't know what Axl did after that. Slash was kind of looking for a band. And then, by the way, Izzy was in the new Hollywood Rose for about a week. And then he quit to join London.
Oh, that's right.
And what happened was nothing, Slash might have auditioned for Poison, not that he wanted to, but we kind of made him do it because it was a good stepping stone. But he basically killed his own audition by saying, I'm not going to say, hi, my name is Slash, and squirt some silly string in the crowd or whatever.
Oh, that was the shit they were doing?
Yeah. He, the band was selling out the Troubadour, and their old guitar player, Matt Smith, knew Slash because Poison used to gig with Hollywood Rose sometimes, and Matt knew that Slash was the shit. And they were friends, and Matt liked Aerosmith, and we hung out a little bit. So Slash liked Matt, he just didn't like the rest of the band. But when Matt knocked his girlfriend up and moved back to Pennsylvania, he recommended Slash for the job.
Right, for Poison.
Yeah, and they auditioned him, and if he didn't blow his own audition by saying, you guys aren't going to, there's no way, you guys are lame. But if he would have said, yeah, I want to join you, they would have taken him in a second, because obviously he's a good guitar player.
Right.
But instead, they got CeCe DeVille. So long story short, now it comes around Christmas of '84, and Axl and Izzy are like, ready to give it up, but they thought, we'll give it one more shot. And they put together Hollywood Rose again and did a reunion show. And they got Chris. They wanted Slash, but he was working at Tower Video and couldn't get the night off. But they ended up back with like Chris Webber, I believe. And they did one gig, and there was a little energy there, and they thought, that's kind of interesting. And then literally at that same time, Axl and Tracy put together a side project just simply for writing music only. And they decided to take a piece of each name, LA Guns and Hollywood Rose. We'll call it Guns N' Roses. And it was a side project. And they used the bass player, Uli Bleek from LA Guns, and the drummer, Rob Gardner. And it was Axl and Izzy from, Hollywood Rose. And they played one gig, their bass player quit, and then they hired Duff, who Duff lived right, like across from them near the Coconut Teaser. And so Duff was in for a few gigs. They started writing like, Move to the City, Think About You. Don't Cry was already written by Axl and Izzy. They had, Anything Goes from a year before, Shadow Your Love, Reckless.
Yeah, I know that one.
They had all that stuff, but that's what they were doing. And, it was kind of going. They did some gigs, and then Duff booked a little tour to Seattle. And right about then, Duff was kind of feeling, I might have to head out of here. I don't know, Tracy. It's just not, it's not exactly, it's good, but it's not exactly what I want. But I'll stick around until I find something better. But meanwhile, he booked these gigs, and Tracy and Rob said, we're not going to Seattle. Where are we going to sleep?
Yeah, they're in that shitty van.
Right. These people, Rob and Tracy came from homes in the neighborhood, and Axl and Izzy had left their home to live on the streets or live in people's cars or do whatever they can to make it in rock and roll. So they were dead serious, and so was Duff. Tracy was serious about music, but not serious enough to do what it takes to make it. So they got in an argument also about possibly how a song they were working on. Maybe that was part of the argument. And either Axl fired Tracy or Tracy quit, or both. Okay,
right.
That's basically it. Fuck you, I quit. No, fuck you, you're fired. One of those things.
Yeah.
And they called. They actually went to see Slash, who just had joined Black Sheep, a band that was playing at the Country Club. This was May 31st. Guns N' Roses had a gig booked June 6th at the Troubadour. It was a Thursday night, and then June 8th, these gigs that were booked in Seattle. So they got 2 gigs a week away. No guitar player, no drummer.
Yep.
So they said, okay, perfect, we'll take Slash and Steven. But Slash had just joined Black Sheep, and Paul Gilbert was in Black Sheep. And they had, Black Sheep was around, and they had a contract, and, it was heavy metal. It wasn't really what Slash was used to, but he pulled it off, no problem. But it wasn't where his heart was at.
Right.
And
that explains why he had that BC Rich, probably. Because that's kind of metal.
The Warlock.
The Warlock,
Yeah, and it was perfect for Black Sheep.
Yeah.
And then so Axl and Izzy and those guys showed up at that gig to try to persuade Slash to come join back with them, and they got these gigs booked. I actually told Slash not to, because I didn't think, I wanted him to do it, but I didn't think it would last.
Right.
There was personality issues and all kinds of power, who's in charge and whatever. But the difference was Slash didn't listen to me. He obviously joined the band, played the gig at the Troubadour June 6th, and then went to Seattle. And the thing is, on the way to Seattle, their car broke down, and they had a hitchhike, and they didn't have any food, they didn't have any money, and they were stealing like carrots and onions from farms to eat. And it was just, that's why they call it Hell Tour.
Right.
But they did play a good gig at the Troubadour, and they did play a good gig up in Seattle. And by the time they got back was probably two weeks later. And they had just suffered, and they were not only a good band of fit musicians, that had good gigs. They're now blood brothers. They were.
Yeah, that's like their Vietnam.
That solidified the band, that little trip. It just kind of made it work. And the first photo shoot they ever took was actually at Canter's in the booth next to the Kivitz room. And they came there for two reasons. A, they were starving.
Yeah.
And B, they wanted to do a photo shoot because they booked a gig at the Stardust Ballroom, which is now Home Depot. And
is that where that was?
Yeah.
Wow.
And basically, they needed some publicity photos to make flyers and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you could if you look at the photo, it's on the cover of Reckless Road.
Yeah.
My book.
He has a book at Reckless Road.
You will see the look in their face of a young band with fire in their eyes, knowing that they got this. They just got this.
Now, you took the picture.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't take the picture.
I did not take that picture. I took,
tons of
70% of the photos in my book. But
Yeah.
Jack Lew, who actually took that photo, was a more skilled photographer. And when it came to photo shoots, Slash would use him because he knew how to work the camera. I knew what looked good through the camera.
Yeah.
But my photos didn't always come out.
Right. You're like a buddy of mine, this guy, Wettenkamp. He was always there and taking pictures, but about 70% would be blurry and shit.
Well, I didn't have a blurry issue. I had issues with lighting and overexposure.
Didn't know how to work the stuff.
Yeah. I didn't know how to work the lens. I knew what I wanted to see and when to pull the trigger 100%, but I didn't know. So I was afraid if I took the photos for a photo shoot and then I develop them, they don't come out, then what are they going to do for their flyers? Come and get another photo shoot? So Jack knew what he was doing. Jack was the one that taught me how to shoot anyways. He shot bands from, in 1980 to 1986, everything that passed through, and he taught me how to shoot in 1982.
Right.
And that's when I started shooting Slash. But anyways, anything that was a photo shoot, he always did.
Oh, I gotcha. Now,
although I was there.
Yeah, you were there. Now, what got you into shooting photos? Just hanging out, just for your own thing?
I'm going to tell you, Eddie Van Halen in 1982 in April of 1982 was playing the Roxy. It wasn't announced, but Alan Holdsworth was playing.
Oh,
the Roxy.
I remember that thing.
And we all knew Eddie would be there because Eddie's a big fan of Alan. And the rumor had it that he might do a song. So Jack couldn't make it. He had to work. We already had tickets. He gave me his camera, showed me how to use it, told me to take pictures. I took pictures. I liked the results.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went and I stole my sister's Canon AE1 that she had in her closet that she wasn't using. And 2 months later, Slash played at Fairfax High School in 1982 when he was in the 11th grade. And I photographed that, and I was blown away by the results. So I hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I never looked back.
I mean, you're basically in the ground zero of Guns N' Roses. Your photos are fucking spectacular, and your memory is pretty fucking good. I don't know how. You must have not been doing drugs because
I was not doing drugs.
Yeah. How did you escape that? Because there was some drugs going down in Hollywood. It was just family raised.
I guess everyone else didn't get the memo that drugs are no good for you.
Yeah, because if people want to see his photos, he has he sells them on eBay. He has a full store and he has a book out. But these photos, not are the incredible history of Guns N' Roses, but you have shit on the photos like first time they played My Michelle, like your memory.
Well,
that shit, like first time Slash played a Les Paul, his new Les Paul.
The history tells the truth because I recorded all those shows. I audio taped them, some of them videotaped.
So, you have audio of those?
Yeah, I do.
And what do you do with them?
I hoard them.
Man!
No, someday they'll get out when the band's on the same page and want to do a box set or something.
And how were you doing? Board tapes or just a Walkman?
No, just a Walkman.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah. But so if you listen back to the show, all of a sudden a new song shows up, or you hear Axl say, "This is the new one. We just wrote it today."
Got ya. That's how you had audio notes.
This one's for Barbie. This one's called Rocket Queen. It's not much, but it's the best I could do. So you have exactly what they said before they debuted the song, and that's the first time the song turns up. So you take photos, you develop them, you save the flyer from the gig, you save the Troubadour ticket, so you have all the evidence. Later on, years back, you look back and you piece the puzzle together.
Yeah.
And not only that, you can tell by the photos what part of the show it is because of what they're wearing. They come with the leather jacket, then it gets hot after a song, they take it off.
Yeah.
Then after another song, they take their shirt off. So you can see where they are in the crowd.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see the photos tell pretty much where you are in the set, or based on what guitar Slash is using, or if he's got a slide on, then you know it's Rocket Queen. You know, there's certain things you can.
Yeah.
You could investigate the photo and figure out what song it is or where they're at, and so that's how I know. First of all, what gigs these songs were debuted at. And by the way, the songs they debuted sound exactly like they do on Appetite for Destruction. The same arrangements, the same guitar solo.
It was fucking crazy, right?
Slash
just out of the box, it was
Slash
just
would
great.
rip one out. You know, it'd be his time to throw out a lead. He'd rip one out, and it fit. And somehow he'd remember. He didn't like tape it and then learn it. He'd remember what he did, and when he got to the gig, he ripped that same one out, and you could still hear it on the record. Sweet
That's
Child
crazy.
of Mine, Paradise City, Welcome to the Jungle, Night Train. Those are all pretty much the same. Rocket Queen, note for note.
What kind of what was it like, that band back then? Like the backstage and stuff. Were they bros? Everything was cool. There was could you see any kind of future shit going down?
No, I did, because see, when Slash and Steven joined the band, okay, that was in June. July 20th, they debuted Welcome to the Jungle, and kind of Slash brought that riff to the band, and the band worked on it, and that song was super. I mean, it's just superb. You heard it and it was like, fuck, listen to that. That's just
that thing's a fucking saga.
That's just cool. Okay, then we hit 2 months later. It comes September 20th. They debut Rocket Queen. I actually was at the rehearsals where they put that together. That just was in some ways better than Jungle Livin'.
That's my favorite song on the record.
Yeah, it is
100%.
And just the vocal range and the lyrics and just the guitar solo and just the whole feel to it, the bass, everything.
No, it's got some fucking swing in the front. It's got that funk, a bum 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 bum.
That's the Slash part.
So fucking great, you know.
That's the funk.
On.
See, you have a band where you have Izzy's like the Rolling Stone guy, Duff is the punk, Slash is the hard rock, Axl's a little bit of everything, and Steven's got some funk to make it all, you know.
Yeah, he's got the swing.
He makes it work. But so you add all that to the mix and you get a piece of everything, and it just...
Right.
Izzy will come up with like the riff to My Michelle.
He was the king of the band, I
just
thought.
like this.
Don't you?
Dan, and then Slash goes dun 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 dun.
Right.
Slash knew to put that second part to it to, you know, if Izzy didn't write that, Slash couldn't have fixed it. So Izzy was the backbone of a lot of the lyrics, some of the melodies, and a lot of the riffs, or parts of the riffs, and then Slash would come in and just totally rearrange them.
Yeah. Polish them up
and change them around. But if you didn't have Izzy to start it, you wouldn't have that song. But Slash did start, you know, a lot of the next Sweet Child. That was his, you know, little chime, and, you know, maybe the riff in Paradise City or whatever. But still, and the Rocket Queen one. So you could hear when you know it's Slash.
Yeah.
But, you know, they debuted Paradise City at the Troubadour. Funny thing is, it was L.A. Guns was supposed to play that show. It was October 10th. It was a Thursday night, 1985, and they canceled that afternoon. The Troubadour called, or L.A. Guns called Guns N' Roses and said, could you fill in for us? They said, sure. They showed up. They didn't take it seriously. There was no flyers for the gig. The tickets said L.A. Guns. There was, you know, just the sign. Actually,
a rehearsal at a club.
The sign, I'm not even so sure the sign said Guns N' Roses. It might have actually said L.A. Guns outside. That's how last minute it was. They debuted Paradise City, which wasn't ready. Some of the lyrics weren't written, but they were in the midst of working on it, so they thought they'd give it a shot. But there you go. There's Paradise City. Then you get to December. Well, first of all, November, they have their first sold-out show at the Troubadour, November 22nd.
Was that their home club?
Yeah, the Troubadours is pretty much their home club. That was where it all went down. I was helping them out with ads in BAM Magazine. First, we did a couple quarter-page ads for $288. Then we moved on to the full-page ads for, like, you know.
Well, back then, if you had a full-page ad, you were a serious band.
$1,250.
Fuck yeah.
So, yeah, that full-page ad got them a sold-out gig. Then after that, let's say at the Music Machine, they debuted Night Train.
Where was the Music Machine? I don't remember that.
It's a strip club
one.
now. It's on Pico near Sepulveda.
And it was a rock club?
It was a club. It could have done it. You know, it's like club lingerie. It was
I gotcha. It was like that. Whatever goes in there. I gotcha.
Yeah, whatever goes in there. They debuted Night Train, and then 2 weeks later, at another sold-out gig at the Troubadour, they debuted My Michelle. Now I'm watching this, saying, "This is Led Zeppelin," because there's no song that they wrote that didn't work.
Right.
Every song they wrote worked and didn't need one drop of arranging or producing or rewriting. The vocals were there, the guitar were there, the songwriting was there, the image was there. It just rocked. And I'd have these tapes and I'd listen to them in my car, and I was just like, fuck. If they stay alive, because they were already doing dope.
Yeah.
If they could
Now they're doing heroin at that time.
Izzy was already doing heroin, when I met him.
Right.
And I thought he was a bad influence, but
now they're doing heroin like before even the EP's out?
Oh yeah. Izzy was a full-on junkie with his girlfriend, and they were dealing drugs and whatever, but he was the bad seed. I didn't like him for those reasons.
Right. He was dealing.
Yeah, he was dealing, he was doing it, and somehow it rubbed off on Slash and Steven, and they were hiding it from me. Izzy wasn't hiding it because he didn't give a shit, but Slash knew that it'd kill him. I mean, Slash was an alcoholic. He would drink 2 bottles a day, but couldn't stop him from doing that, and
right.
that might eventually kill you.
Now, how old are these guys at the time they're doing dope? Like 20?
20.
Yeah, right. Because I remember that 80s, everyone was on dope.
Right. So Slash started doing it, and then you could kind of see it in the shows. Like, at the first time I noticed it was at the Roxy gig, January 18th of 86, and you could see he was wasted, and it wasn't on alcohol.
Yeah, he was just kind of
his
like
playing
just
was sloppy. His playing was sloppy. He was slurring. And then it just was a mess from there all the way through until even August. They were all doing it, or not. Duff wasn't, but
was Axl doing it?
Axl was doing it too, but Axl seemed to be in control. If that sounds any strange, because usually heroin controls you. You don't control it. But he saw the band was swinging out of control around August, right around the time they wrote Brownstone and Sweet Child.
Yeah.
Which they debuted August 23rd at the Whiskey. But right after that, Axl just stopped cold turkey on heroin.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm sure he might have done whatever else was around sometimes, but he definitely wasn't in like the rest of them were.
Well, he probably was like, hey, man, somebody's got to keep this fucking afloat, right?
Yeah, Izzy and Slash were fucking up. They were late for gigs. They would, things were going on.
Just doing dumb junkie shit.
Yeah, they were
junkie shit sucks. That's the worst thing about junkies is like, okay, cool, get high or whatever, but then it starts fucking up other people's lives, and that's when it sucks. Like you miss a gig, you're late, or I don't have guitar strings.
Hawking in his equipment.
Yeah, that kind of shit. Like junkies always hawk their gear, and then the day of the gig they go, my guitar's in hawk, bro. And then it's always like probably Axl goes, fuck, I got to get this guy's guitar out,
No, I mean Slash always kept one guitar no matter what, but still he hawked everything else that he could,
Right.
Like any other junkie. But
yep.
That was that. But that
now, when you're hanging with Slash, are you going like, dude, what are you doing? You're doing junk.
No, I know. He came to my house a couple of times to try to clean up, and just passed out literally on my bed where your feet would go, like that
right.
that way on your bed. So my bed got short sheeted. I'm sleeping,
yeah.
He's bed while he's crossed over my whole bed, just crashed for like a day. But I mean,
what are you gonna do? You can't go, hey, dude. It'd be like, you guys are bros, right?
I kind of cut them off financially as far as food goes, because I wouldn't even feed them at that point, because I thought if I'm going to feed you, then when you do get money, you're going to buy junk.
That's right.
So this way, if I don't feed you, fuck you. When you get money, you're going to have to go to Taco Bell and eat.
Yeah.
So,
let me ask you a question. You're feeding them. You're kind of like financing them. Is that from Canter's money? Like money for?
No. Feeding them is. I would take them to Tommy's.
Gotcha.
That's out of my pocket, or Taco Bell or whatever, or Canter's.
Right.
Financing them, not from Canter's. That was my own I lived at home. I was making $300 a week, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot in 1985.
Yeah.
And when you have no bills to pay at all, nothing. That money starts to add up, and I had a few $1,000s soon saved up, and I just dumped it all into them.
Did they ever give you money back?
Not really, but sort of. I mean, when there was 2 debts going. Slash owed me money from way before that, and personal money. Like he'd be like literally in England with GNR in 1986, and the grandmother would call me and say she can't make her rent. So I'd have to give them $500 so they don't get evicted.
In 86, while they're on tour?
They weren't big yet, but they were on tour in England.
I got you.
They went out to do the 3 gigs at Marquee, so they didn't have any a red cent in their pocket. But so Slash had a debt of like $4,300, and Guns N' Roses owed me like $3,800 or something like that.
Right.
And so they made it. They got money. They didn't pay me back. But what happened was in 1989, I was getting married and I was short on money, so I called Slash. I said, "Hey, I need some money to get my wedding album out of, so I could pay for the wedding album." So he said, "Well, how much money do I owe you? Forget about the band. That's something different. We'll do that another time. How much do I owe you?" So I told him it was like $4,300. He added a little interest because at those days, if you had your money in the bank, you were collecting 8 or 10% interest.
Yeah, real shit.
So he ended up giving me like $8,000 or $9,000 for that.
And that was fresh off the record deal?
No.
Oh, 89.
No, 89. That
right.
was, they already had it.
Yeah, they had the deal.
They probably had close to like $800,000 on them each because that's where they were. Even though they had sold enough records to have a few million, it doesn't work like that. You have to wait like 6 months.
Yeah, you got to wait for the checks.
It was right around the time they opened up for the Rolling Stones. But anyways, no, I'm sorry. It was before that. It was March of 89. But anyways, that's, as far as the band, they did nice things for me. They got me a pinball machine. Axl would pay out of his own pocket to fly my wife and I out to like Cleveland, put us up at the Ritz-Carlton for 4 nights. And that didn't come out of the band's pocket. That came out of Axl's pocket. So,
and you and Axl became friends?
Oh yeah, we were friends since 1984. Instantly, even before Guns N' Roses, because during Hollywood Rose we became friends. And
right.
That's why he called me to say, "Hey, can you take pictures of LA Guns? I'm in LA Guns now," and so I kind of snuck to do it because Slash wouldn't be happy about that because A, they had a falling out, and B, Tracy and Slash were always in rival bands in high school.
Right.
So I'm like helping the enemy kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I liked Axl. I even liked Tracy, so why not? I did it. I didn't tell Slash.
Yeah. Now, like I asked you before, could you see that there was going to be later some problems down the road? No, there was problems even in 1984. So those same type of problems kept coming up. But let me tell you what changed in the music and why it stayed this time, why it worked. Two things different. One, they took away Steven's double bass drum. They threw one out, literally. That's great. No double bass.
And they took the speed metal out of it. It became more of a rock. And then Izzy was the factor. Izzy and Duff, really, that changed it. And the groove changed. That gig at the Troubadour, June 6th, was just... While I'm taking these pictures, I'm thinking, fuck, that's good music. You can hear it. The vocals are good. The music, it's just like, you got like chills listening to it. And so things were different. Things were different musically. So I knew that the bond of music would hold them together despite some of their personalities or their power struggles or whatever that go with it. The music was enough to where everyone had to eat a little shit to make, like any marriage.
You got to give a little.
Everyone, like a marriage, you don't just get it your way. You got to give a little and take a little and whatever. So everyone got their way on certain things, and everybody ate a little shit up for certain things. So why? Because in the end, they knew they all needed each other, and they knew they were the perfect fit, and they were writing killer material together. They were just the band to be reckoned with.
Yeah, that music, I mean... You can't even believe we're talking about the biggest. I think it's the biggest debut seller right now of all time. Still, it's something like 38 million or something.
Well, I don't know about how many million. I know in the States it's like 18 million, but worldwide it's hard to tell what it really is.
It really, yeah.
Downloads and this one's and that one's. How to keep track of it. But musically, at that time in 1985, music was dead. You had Rat and Motley Crue is pretty much what was going on and keeping things alive, maybe. And it just...
Quiet Riot.
It just was not what it was in the 70s. All those 70s band, just like even Aerosmith in 1985 wasn't really doing much. And they just... What they did is they took what they learned musically from... What they liked about music, their influences of the Stones and Zeppelin and Nazareth and just all those cool bands.
Yeah.
And they made their own version of it, a little piece of all of that. Punk bands and just where it was lightning in a bottle. It was the right 5 guys in the right place at the right time.
Right.
And they just needed each other to make it work.
Now... Did you go to the Rolling Stones gig when they opened for Stones?
All 4 of them ready for this, October 18th, 19th, 21, and 22nd at the Coliseum.
And and describe what the trouble was, because that was when the big trouble, I think, first started happening, right?
Well, Slash was in a bad drug way, and so was Steven. And, you know, that gig was kind of an important gig, obviously.
Yeah.
It was probably their biggest gig. Well, I shouldn't say their biggest gig because they did play Donington.
Right. But it's a big deal. You're playing for the Stones.
But you're opening it for the Stones. You're in your hometown. You're doing
it's their
4
idols.
nights. It's your idols. You're doing 4 nights. It's a big gig. So, you know.
And where's it? It was at L.A. Coliseum, right?
L.A. Coliseum.
Right.
And Slash was obviously making mistakes or whatever. And it's not, well, you know, you can call Axl a perfectionist or whatever you want to call him. But if, you know, whatever was Slash was doing wasn't up to par. And you could get away with some things and make it work, but I guess it was enough to really throw Axl over the edge. And Axl just basically said, you know, if certain people in this band don't stop dancing with Mr. Brownstone or some words like that, this will be my last gig or something like that.
Right.
And everyone thought he quit, but it wasn't a quit. It was basically a threat.
A wake-up call.
It was a threat. He didn't say, I quit until he just said, if they don't stop, then I will quit, or this will be our last gig, or I forgot the exact words.
So you're at the gig. You saw them. Were they terrible?
Axl speaks his mind. Axl,
right.
No, they were not terrible. I mean, the thing is, as far as I'm concerned, I was disappointed because all they did was play the Appetite for Destruction songs pretty much, and, you know, a couple from Lies. But there was talk that they were going to do Live and Let Die, which is a song you put your tape in and you learn. It takes 2 seconds to learn.
Yep.
It's not something you're writing. I was disappointed that they couldn't punch it out. I mean, they talked
because
about...
Slash was just too loaded?
Well, it could have been Steven. It could have been... I don't think it was Slash being too loaded. You couldn't learn that because Slash, even loaded, could learn the song.
Yep.
It could have had something to do with Steven, too. But the fact that they didn't play that song was enough to ruin the gig for me. Honestly, I have tapes of those shows, and I don't hear really anything wrong with the guitar playing, but obviously Axl noted.
Well, yeah, later on, and also it could have just been something backstage going on, like he's totally nodded out.
It could have been nodded out.
And you're like, you got to get it the fuck up.
Yeah, it could have been a number of things. But, right. That's just trauma because Axl's going to speak his mind. If something's bothering him, he's going to let you know about it.
Yeah.
Right or wrong.
He's like the top 5 frontman of all time, don't you think?
100%.
Now, when you were watching him early on, did you... a lot of talk that he took the moves from the dude from Shark Island.
No. There's one move.
There's one move.
There's one move that he obviously took, but he didn't steal it. He was influenced by it.
Right.
But he had a lot of respect for Richard. What's his name? Richard Black. Yeah. He loved Shark Island. Shark Island was doing like 300 gigs a year, and Axl was just blown away that how professional that a band could function and make a living. That was their living. You know?
Yeah.
They never made it, but they were able to make a living and pay their rent with that band. And Axl just loved how professional they were.
Yeah, they weren't working a Tower Video like Axl and Slash, right?
No. But so we went to a gig, actually, a Shark Island gig, and Axl and Tracy Guns got up and played.
I saw that at the Troubadour. They played rock and roll or something?
Gazaris.
Oh, yeah.
They played rock and roll.
I saw it on YouTube.
That's me. I filmed it.
Oh,
Richard had that kind of snake thing that he did.
Yep.
And I think more subconsciously, Axl just picked it up. And, you know, you do what you do. If you look at Slash and the way he's leaning, you're going to see Joe Perry.
Absolutely.
If you look at Joe Perry and see the way he's leaning, you're going to see Jeff Beck.
Yeah.
You know, and where did Jeff Beck get it from? Maybe he invented it, or maybe he saw something in someone else. So it doesn't necessarily mean you ripped him off.
I understand.
It just means you were influenced by it, and you admired it, and it comes out. It just comes out. I don't think Axl stood in the mirror and played some music and said, "Oh, let me see if I can get that down."
Yeah.
It was just something that just, you know, he just felt and did. And Axl has probably at least 10 moves that he makes.
He does.
And that would just be one of them. So, I
remember the first time I saw him, I just couldn't believe it. You know, they came out, they played San Francisco at the Stone, and I was like, what the fuck? This is like, this band is great. I got the EP, you know, on vinyl. Uzi Suicide was the label, I guess.
Well, it was actually Geffen, but they
just had the fake stuff. Yeah, but and then I remember when the record came out, I was like, oh, they got a couple different singers now. You know what I mean? Because I hadn't seen him do those other songs like, when he's like, turn around, bitch, I got a use for you. Because he didn't sing like that when I saw him. He was more Nazareth.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs. It's so easy. But there's 4 ranges of Axl's vocals on that song. And that's, when I first met Axl, he had the high pitch. That's all he had.
That's all I saw.
Well, that's
too.
not true. That's all he used.
Exactly.
He didn't know what he had. I remember when the band got signed, they instantly started giving Axl vocal lessons just to train him so he doesn't blow out his voice or that kind of.
Right.
You learn to control it.
That's what they would do back then. They would just send you into lessons.
Will Cox in Santa Monica, there was like those little studios that are there on the south side of the street. I used to actually drive him there sometimes. But he must have picked something up, and they taught him how to use that low voice. Because right after that, I think I don't recall any songs where it's being really used until "Sweet Child of Mine" and "It's So Easy," which came pretty much after those lessons. So they showed him how to, they showed him how to use that voice that he had within him.
It's so radical because it just comes on like, whoa, this is a full different dude. And then it actually added so much depth to the band because before it was like, gotta move to the city. It was just that kind of that thing all the time.
Right. Actually, My Michelle, it starts off slow.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is the first couple times they played the song was slower. And then he starts that slow and then jumps in and knocks it out.
Right.
But that actually showed another one of his voices, just like a regular voice before the screaming voice where your daddy works in porno.
I love that. Now the mommy's not around. It's so good, right?
That's what I'm saying. The first time he sang it low.
Oh, wow.
And then he screamed it. He started screaming it later. After a couple gigs, he changed it to double time or whatever you want to call it. But, so I forgot even what you were asking me.
Well, I was just asking about like how his whole image. Did you see it start to become the Axl Rose?
Okay.
You go from Bill.
No. Okay, Axl was always Axl from the day I met him. If something wasn't going, it was victory or death, just like his tattoo.
Yeah.
He'd walk right out. He would, throw something against the wall. There was, discipline was right out the window. Whatever came to his mind, his thoughts came out. He didn't hold much back. And so,
just a fucking outlaw.
Yeah, so basically people think, oh, they got money, now you can do this and do this. Axl's not going to do this because of that. Axl's not going to do this because of that, even back in 1984.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. The only thing that changed is he has more money to get more of what he might want done. Like he wants to make $1 million video and do it. He couldn't have done that in 1984.
Nope.
He might have wanted to, but he couldn't physically do it. So the only thing money changed was it gave him more physical. He could reach physical things that he couldn't reach before he had the money. But
right.
It didn't change his attitude about how he feels about what people are doing to him or what he has to say about someone that fucked him over in the press. He'd get out there, fuck Bam Magazine, fuck LA Weekly, before they were even sold, fuck Music Connection. You don't do those things because they're not going to put you in there again. So, but Axl spoke his mind because, they either got something wrong in it or they gave him a bad review or it didn't even have to do with Axl. They could have said your drummer's no good, and that's enough. You poke at Steven, you've poked at Axl. See,
yeah,
that's
it's a snake.
Axl will stick up for the people that are around him.
Right.
And take one for the team.
Yeah.
I mean, one time I was trying to video, you probably saw it on YouTube where they played that acoustic set at the Central.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love that one.
I went to videotape. The Central said I couldn't videotape. And Axl said, then we're not going on.
Yeah.
Axl didn't want a video. He didn't give a shit about the video, but he was supporting me.
Yeah.
Because he knew
poking one of his team.
He knew that I had to videotape it because I was the documenter and I had to do it. It was like an OCD thing. I by the way, I am OCD, but not majorly, just enough to make me do the things I really want to do and do them well. But he knew that I had a burning sensation to do that. And so basically he said, then we're not going on. And then they said, okay, fine, you can videotape. So, Axl will
flex muscle.
He will cut his arm off to help you if that's what it takes.
Do you see him around ever?
Not lately. He's a little bit teed off at me believe it or not, because of the book.
Is that right?
But when I put the book together, I actually asked Axl's permission in 1993, and he said, yeah, totally. It took me 15 months to do it.
15 months?
5 hours a day.
93, you put the book together. When did it come out?
Midnight till 5 a.m. every single night. Book came out 2007, and here's the problem.
Yeah.
When I got done, I showed it to him, because I put like 2,000 photos in there, knowing that he'd probably want some of them out. Honestly, he was fine with all the photos, which then I took about 1,000 of them out myself. But I thought if he was going to take a bunch out, then I would have this to pick from. But anyways, he loved it. He loved the book at the time, 94, when it was done. But he has so much bad blood with Slash from the breakup, the split, just what has been going on all these years. And not only Slash, you get Tom Zutaut, who Axl feels somehow burned him.
He's the guy that signed him.
Right.
How did he burn him?
Because in 2001, he was working with the band as a producer or helping produce.
Oh, I remember that.
And maybe he wasn't allowed to have contact with Slash, and then like his phone rang and it said Slash, and Axl made him throw out the phone, and then something went down from the movie Black Hawk Down. Jungle was going to be in that movie, and Axl wanted a screening. He wanted to see what the movie was about or whatever before he agreed to put the song in it. So Tom Zutaut arranged some kind of a screening, but there was miscommunication about who else was going to be there, and it didn't go right. It wasn't Slash, but it wasn't what Axl thought, or maybe the people that were working with Axl, like Betta, who takes care of like some personal business. There was miscommunication, and somehow between the two things of Slash dealing with. In the contract, he wasn't supposed to be dealing with Slash while he was working with Axl, and apparently he was doing that, so that was like a betrayal. And then something went wrong with this Black Hawk Down, which was the final straw, and that was it. So therefore, Tom Zutaut's no good anymore, and anything he has to say is no good. However, Tom Zutaut signed the band, and if anyone else would have signed the band, you wouldn't have Appetite for Destruction. Tom Zutaut basically helped co-produce that record. Even though Mike Klink recorded and the band wrote it, that record wouldn't have been done without Tom Zutaut.
Because he had the proper vision. He knew what
needed to be there, and he oversaw it from a distance and basically produced it from it, made sure it got... He's the one that found Mike Klink to record it. He's the one, he produced it without anyone realizing that he produced it.
Right.
And he made sure that songs didn't get rearranged. He made sure that lyrics stayed in, Anyways, long story short, Tom Zutaut speaks in the book. Does he speak bad about Axl? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But Axl doesn't want to hear anything Tom has to say. Yeah. Because Tom is no longer good. So he
basically just cuts things out.
Same with Vicky Hamilton. Vicky Hamilton later
first manager
got burned because she borrowed $50,000 from this guy Howie. I don't know if you know Howie from Guitars R Us.
Oh yeah, I know him.
Howie Huberman, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not 50, 30 grand from him, or 35 grand from him to put into the band when she was managing the band from January of 86 to April. And Tom knew Vicky because of Motley Crue and other bands that she had worked with. And so the fact that Tom got word that Vicky was involved helped the situation.
Yeah.
Anyways, Vicky put her heart out, put all this money in the band, and the band basically dumped her when they got signed because they wanted Peter Grant, basically. They wanted someone that...
Zeppelin manager.
Well, not Peter
A guy
Grant.
like that
Peter
kind
Grant
of power.
was already dead, but I believe... I'm sure he was dead by 85.
No, I think he was alive, but he was just a recluse.
Okay, but anyways, they wanted someone that could take them to the next level, and they thought Vicky was good just for clubs. Getting you signed, getting your club gig sold out, whatever.
Yeah, she was like a Hollywood, like a Sunset Strip.
She was a promoter.
Vein.
She was a promoter. She knew how to get shit done in Hollywood. They needed Peter Grant.
Yep.
So they dumped her, and then I remember Slash and Axl having the conversation when they dumped her. Well, when we get money, we'll give her 50 grand.
Yep.
Settle out with her, because they didn't have money at the time. Well, they got money. They didn't give her shit.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if it's because their lawyers advised them. It's like opening a can of worms, because if you give her money, then you're admitting that she managed you, and then she might want more. I mean, it's like kind of a weird...
Yeah, I understand that.
Weird kind of a thing. Unless you did it at the moment, right then and there in 1986, and handed her 50 grand and she signed off on it, it would have been cut and clean. But I don't really know the reasons why they didn't pay her back, but they didn't.
Right.
So she had to sue them. And besides that, well, she sued them for $1 million, but settled for $50,000. And then after the lawyers took their cut, she got her 30, paid Howard back, and
clean.
Howie, and she ended up even. But
so anybody in the book that he doesn't like,
somewhere in time, she said some shit about Axl. She probably was the one that started the rumor that Axl stole the Richard Black moves. She was pissed off.
Yeah.
She got left behind, and she said some shit that she probably shouldn't have said, and that wasn't necessarily true. But it was her opinion. It just wasn't facts.
Yeah.
And so anything she has to say, it's no good.
And it's in your book, too.
Now, did she say anything bad about Axl? I don't really think so. I got to look at it again to see what it was. But so my book is full of these people that Axl no longer likes. So the problem, I'm making a long story long, is what's happening.
Yeah. But it's good stuff.
But so basically, these people, I mean, he doesn't like these people. So he's trying to erase the old band, move on with the new band. It's 2006, 2007. He's trying to get his record out that was already done for 6 years.
Yep.
He's got a new band. He's trying to get the world to forget about the old band. And all of a sudden, by chance, my book is coming out because I finally, after all these, I didn't stop looking for a publisher. I just couldn't find one. Nobody wanted to put the book out while the band didn't have a record out.
That's crazy. I mean, it's an epic book.
I just sat in my closet, and I bumped into these people by accident that were doing a thing at Canter's with some other book. And they take your book and they put it online.
Uh-huh.
And they
that's how I found out about it.
It's enhancedbooks.com. Mm-hmm. They're gone now, but they put your book page for page online. There's a code in the book that takes you to that page, and you get music from the gigs, you get extra photos, you get video interviews, you get all kinds of cool stuff. So that's why I went with them. That was their first book they put out. They were just people that took books and put a platform on the internet. So they had no money. They got investors. And they did a book called America's Greatest Delis. They enhanced the book, and that's why they came to Canter's to interview me. And when I realized what they were doing, I told the guy, I have a Guns N' Roses book. Someday when it comes out, I'm going to be looking for you to enhance it because I have this cool audio, and I want to put a little tidbit so you could hear Axl say, this is the new one. We just wrote it today. This song's for Barbie. You know, and then you hear maybe 5-10 seconds of the song, not the whole song.
Yeah, right.
You get the gist of what things were like. And for that, I was just charged. I mean, I was like a beeline. Nothing was going to stop me from getting this out. And I talked to some of the people that work with Axl. I didn't see Axl. I went to see Axl, but I never got to see him at the gigs they did at Universal in December 2006. So I told the people he worked with, guess what? I got a deal. My book's coming out. And they didn't really say much. They kind of stayed quiet about it. I guess they were afraid to tell Axl because they didn't know how he would react. Maybe because I knew Axl didn't want to promote the old band, but at the same time, we're like best friends, and this is my work, and it means a lot to me. And I put the book together 13 years before that, and I finally found someone to put it out. I'm excited.
Yeah,
it's history of the band. I mean, when Axl loved the book, Steven and Izzy were gone, and there was bad blood.
Yeah,
but yet they were in every picture. They were in every.
He was okay with them.
He was okay. Steven, they had a nasty lawsuit with, yet he was okay with all the pictures of Steven.
But Slash,
the hatred he has for the Slash.
What does that brew from?
Miscommunications.
I understand it, but I mean, it is fucking fierce.
Slash is a liar. He says, well, let's pick a subject. Okay. The signing over the name of the band.
Yep.
Slash and Duff say that Doug Goldstein presented them this contract saying that the band's now Axl's or the name's Axl, or I don't know. I didn't read the contract. I don't know what's in it, but basically giving the power to Axl.
Right.
But not necessarily changing the money. I don't think it had to do. It was just basically who was in charge of the band.
Right.
And they already knew from the past that there's been riots because whatever reason Axl's not going on stage.
Yep.
Or he missed a gig or missed a play.
Oh, it was like before a gig.
Well, I don't even know if it was before a gig, but Slash kind of sold it as if it was before a gig. It was like, if we don't sign it, he's not going on.
Right.
Well, Slash said that, but does that mean if we don't sign it right now, he's not going on tonight? I don't even think it was on the day of a gig. It could have been 2 weeks before a gig. It could have been 3 months before a gig, or it could have been the night of a gig. It doesn't matter.
Right.
The truth is, Slash and Duff knew that Axl meant business. Axl has never bluffed.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Axl didn't say, if they don't sign it, I'm not going on.
Doug Goldstein?
Doug Goldstein sold it to them that way.
Right.
So, and they knew Axl well enough to know, yes, that's probably true. And on top of that, they figured the band wasn't worth anything anyways without them. So what could Axl do with it? Other than he's already getting his way. They didn't want to make $1 million videos, yet they made $1 million videos.
Yeah, fuck it.
They didn't want to play certain songs live, yet they did, because Axl wanted to. So Axl was pretty much getting his way anyways on most of the things, not all the things. But Axl didn't want to do the tour in 1991, yet he did the tour. So Axl ate some shit too. But the thing is, they pretty much knew Axl was getting his way anyways. They made a mistake by signing it, but they did it. They signed it. Had they not signed it, what would have happened is the band would have just simply broken up in 1995 when they couldn't agree on what direction to go in. It would be like Pink Floyd or something else.
Right.
They would have just split, and right now Axl would be out touring with other people, and the name just wouldn't be Guns N' Roses. It would be something else.
It'd be Axl.
But you still wouldn't see Guns N' Roses with Slash and Duff and Axl, because they would have fallen apart in 1995.
Right.
Now, the truth is, because the name is so valuable, they might have eventually worked it out simply because they had to.
Yep.
But now they don't have to, because Axl simply owns the name, and he could make it work with anybody. So that's where that has gone. I always figured let him put a record or two out, and then let Slash put a few records out, and then they'd get all their shit out of their system. They'd be ready to work together, like Aerosmith did.
Right. You think it'll happen?
They won't live long enough for it to happen. If they could live 200 years, it would happen. But see, the thing is, things move slowly.
Right.
In the way things work. And Slash is ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Izzy's ready for that.
Yeah.
Duff is ready for that. Axl's not ready for that because Slash hasn't apologized.
Who plays drums if they get back together?
If you're having an honest reunion, the way I would see it is Steven would be there for the Appetite for Destruction songs.
Right.
Maybe Civil War or something that he played, or Heaven's Door. But and then you would see either the drummer Axl has now, or Matt, or somebody. It doesn't really matter, because Matt really wasn't an original drummer. Yes, he was on Use Your Illusions, and yes, he certainly made it work. But they don't necessarily have to have him, but they could.
Yeah. Axl hated him, I thought. He called him an urchin or something.
Well, I don't. Somehow the hatred goes more with Slash, because I just gave you one example. There's hundreds of them.
We get it.
There's hundreds of them. But it's not going to happen, because Slash is not going to apologize, because in Slash's mind, Axl stole the band, or did this or did that. I mean, Slash has 100 things that he could say that he could blame on Axl, and Axl has 100 things he could blame on Slash. In the end, they wanted different things, and that's why it didn't work.
Maybe separate tour buses or separate jets.
No, just if it happened, it wouldn't happen now for $10 billion.
Wow.
But it would happen for free.
Yeah, organically.
If they made up.
Right.
It's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
Not like separate buses or separate hotels or separate this or separate that. It's not like I'll do it, but I don't want to see him. Axl, it's like victory or death. There's nothing in between. There's no way in hell he would do it as long as he's angry at Slash. Now, if somehow they got like a common therapist, marriage counselor type of person, and worked out that anger, and realized and got Axl to see that there actually is two sides to this, and no one's really right or wrong. It's just different sides.
Yep.
Because right now he believes Slash is 110% wrong. When he believes that it's a 50-50 deal kind of a thing. Yeah,
there you go.
Or it's a 0-0 deal, meaning it's no one's really fault. It had to be. He would then, we wouldn't drop the new guys, but he would possibly have a Guns N' Roses gig where you'd have maybe the new guys would open, do an hour set, and then the original lineup would come up and finish for the next hour and a half.
Right.
He's got too much time. The new guys have been in longer than the old guys, just so you know.
Yeah.
And he's got loyalty there, and he likes them and whatever else. So that's fine. I have no problem with that. I like what Axl did after the Appetite for Destruction lineup broke up. But Axl's going to work good with anybody.
Yeah.
It's just not going to be the same. You put different cooks in the kitchen, the food's going to taste good. It's not going to be the same food.
Yeah, you're not going to have that.
Even if you threw Slash and Izzy and Duff and Axl in the room together and made them write until they come out, whatever they come up with now is not going to be what they came up with in 1985.
No, they're like dads and shit.
They were writing about what was going on. They were writing on what was going on.
This shit is street rock.
The lyrics, the music, the anger,
Right.
I'm sure whatever they do now would be good, but it wouldn't be anything like. You can't expect people would want Appetite Part 2. It's not going to happen.
I'm almost happy that it doesn't happen. It's like Zeppelin never getting back together. It was always great to me because it's never gonna be what you fucking want it to be. You know what I mean? It's never going to be 72.
I'm going to tell you right now, if Bonham didn't die,
yeah,
Zeppelin still could have toured for many years and just blew you away. But I don't think they had more records left in them. I think they had. I mean, In Through the Outdoor was a huge jump into another direction, which I love. But I don't know how much. It just seems like their battery might have just died songwriting-wise. Because how much can you do? Like, look at the Stones. Do they really write any good music anymore? Not really.
Not at all. Not at all.
Their battery burned out. I mean, I'm not saying Guns N' Roses' battery burned out, but I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, most bands can't even write one fucking classic.
AC/DC.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Up to Back in Black.
What have they done since Back in Black? 3 songs?
I actually like, recently I've been playing Flick of the Switch record, and I'm like, this fucking record's great. At the time, it's not great, and up against stuff, but compared to all the other stuff after that, I understand,
You start to wonder how much involved Bon Scott may have been in Back in Black before he died.
Oh, I think he wrote the record, 100%. The lyrics are completely Bon Scott lyrics. There's no fucking way that Brian Johnson would write Hell's Bells.
But if you look at the credit,
or Have a Drink on Me.
The credits,
of course,
they have him in the credits as this. They don't have Bon Scott.
I know. I understand that.
So I don't know.
I understand why they probably would do that because they need 100% full acceptance of the welcoming of the new guy. So if you said, okay, new guy, but Bon wrote him, they'd be like, it's still Bon's stuff. They wouldn't accept him. Maybe. If you read that Bon Scott book, which, is who knows, probably bullshit. They say the day he died, some record company people came in and just took the lyric books right instantly and fucking left. And they were demoing some Back in Black shit.
That could have happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's pretty much the story of
anything. Of fucking anything. You know what I mean? It's you got to have that fucking mythology, that thing.
But if I was going to give a guess, really honestly, if there was to ever to work together, I'd say it wouldn't happen before 10 years from now.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they're going to be like 60.
Doesn't look at the Stones; they're 70.
Yeah, I hear you. But you got to sing like "Welcome to the Jungle." How are you going to do that at 60?
Those are hard.
Hard
Axl
notes.
wrote a lot of songs that are really hard. "Welcome to the Jungle" is a very hard song to sing.
Fuck yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Favorite show that you've ever seen? Well, not just GNR. Anyone?
No, that's
really hard. But how about top 3?
Wow. Okay, Judas Priest, Long Beach Arena, 1980 tour.
Screaming for Vengeance.
No.
Oh, which tour was that?
1980.
84. Wait, Defender.
No, 1980.
Oh, 1980.
British Steel.
Oh, British Steel. 80. I got you. Wow, British Steel.
To me, I was like 15 years old, and that was just, I was a big Judas Priest fan, and that, it just, at the time, for me, just was like, it's Judas Priest.
I saw them right after that, the Point Entry tour. I never forgot it. They opened with Solar Angels. They came out of those boxes. They had this lighting truss that was spinning like a helicopter that came down. And there he was. He still was wearing the denim and the leather, kind of that San Fran gay guy look, which I always liked. And there they were. They opened with Solar Angels. I was like, fuck.
There's certain things that grab me. And like I'll say Van Halen, and I'm just going to say, just for one song.
Yeah.
When they in like 1984, they'd open up with On Fire, right?
Oh, I loved it.
I'm not saying that whole concert was the best concert, but just that one song to come out and punch you in the face and open up with On Fire and seeing the attack of Eddie hit just the way he would come in, that energy, I could still feel that in my stomach.
Yeah.
So that's like, if I could just, I don't have to pick the whole show, just that song.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
But there's so many of them. I've seen so many.
Yeah, you and I are like rock fucking freaks.
Black Sabbath reunion tour 1995 or 1996. I'm not sure when that was. That could easily be, Black Sabbath.
Right.
And as much as I like the Ronnie James Dio Black Sabbath, and I saw Heaven and Hell tour, and that was good too, but still, Black Sabbath with Bill Ward and just that Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
That easily goes up there, and there's, I could name a couple Aerosmith gigs, I guess.
Right.
But for me, there's a lot of gigs for me did it. If you talk Guns N' Roses, I mean, hard to say. Maybe the street scene, just because I saw them win over 5,000 people.
Now, street scene was at Ventura. Where was that?
No.
On Sunset.
That was on First Street and Temple.
Santa Monica.
Temple and Broadway. In downtown.
Oh, downtown.
They were opening up for Social Distortion. They were supposed to go on at 5:30.
Right.
Guns N' Roses took the stage at 8, not because they were late, because the whole
thing was right.
So the people that were there, the hardcore punk scene that was there for Social Distortion, they're already 3 hours in that crowd waiting for their band.
Pissed.
And Guns N' Roses come out, and they look like the New York Dolls, pretty much. And they're throwing beer and hamburger and spitting and just like, fuck, what is going on here? Are we, like another fucking band?
Yeah.
But like after the second song, they won that crowd, and that crowd was just swaying the stage, and it was so much energy. That's that one photo I showed you.
Fucking great photos.
And where Axl's hair is kind of flying.
He's got the cigarette in the hand. It looks like they're just coming at you.
They only played 5 songs, but that was an intense moment for me to see them win that crowd.
Yeah. Did you go to did you hang out at Comedy Store at all back then?
No.
No? How about Sam Kinison? Any of that?
I see Sam Kinison coming to Canter's a lot.
Right.
But I'd gone maybe once a year to the Comedy Store or the Improv or those kind of things. I wasn't going that often.
Right. But did you ever talk to Kinison? Because he was way rock.
Well, yeah, he was. No, but I've seen him at Canter's. He waved to him, whatever, but I didn't. Maybe I just had a few words with him, but we didn't really have deep conversation.
Right. Well, man, I'm so glad you came down. Where can we find your book?
Well, you can find my book either at recklessroad.com or Amazon, or you can go to my eBay store, which is just simply one word, Marc Canter, MarcCanter, if you look for that seller, or just in the search, look for Reckless Road, and a bunch of them will come up. Mine is the one that the book is 3-dimensional on the photo. You don't just see the face of the book. You could actually see the side of the book, too.
Right. And your photos are fucking amazing.
On my eBay store from that listing, you'll see all my photos, not only GNR, but I have like old Metallica and
Judas Priest, Jimmy Page,
I got all kinds
the
of
Arms tour. I saw great Eddie Van Halen playing that had to be that whiskey gigger at Roxy,
with the purple
guitar,
Kramer.
no stripes, nothing.
They're very high end digital archivable photos. And they cost like $35 just to print. The framing alone would cost anybody $200 for $150 to $200. It's got the nice wood frames with the UV glass non-glare and archivable matting, so nothing yellows.
Yep.
It's designed to last 300 years. So they're put together. The galleries sell them for $600.
The photos are beautiful too, and they're like epic concerts. They're not just like later when these bands were all bloated and shitty. You got fucking Priest on the Screaming for Vengeance tour.
Right.
You got Hetfield on the Master of Puppets tour.
Yeah.
You've got Steve Harris from Maiden on the Number of the Beast tour.
Yep.
You've got GNR from fucking basically Slash
very first gig
from high school all the way up, man.
A lot of the GNR stuff, they're photos that are not only my favorite photos, but something happened at that gig, that they debuted a song or something.
And he writes it on the photo.
I write it physically on the border of the photo, and I sign each photo on the corner. And like I said, galleries sell them for $600, and my eBay prices range from $149 to $249.
And they're fucking worth it, man.
They take an hour, and at least an hour to frame. And by the time you pack them and get the photo and go to the post office, it's 2 hours work to get.
Yeah. You're not getting rich.
No, not at all. But
you're out working on refrigerators today.
Here's what I like. I like going over, and this happened. I went to drop something off at someone's house. and I look on their wall, and they had one of my photos.
Wow.
And I was like, where did you get that?
Yeah.
And they said, the store on Sunset that sells them. And
Oh, yeah, that one.
Soundcheck in Hollywood or
Yep,
whatever.
yep.
And I was just like, I couldn't believe my work. I was so proud to see it there. And that's the whole reason. When you die, I don't care if you have $20 million. You can't take it with you.
Nope.
But what you can take with you is your name.
Yeah.
And if your art is hanging up on someone's wall.
Oh, God, yeah, man. Art is where it's at, you know? Art's where it's at. These photos in my house, I look at them every day. Like that photo of Jimmy Page, right when you came in my house, you went right to the photo and you just said, that's fucking amazing.
1,000 words.
Right there, man.
That's 1,000 words. Every photo has 1,000 words. And that's why when I started videotaping the gigs, I lost something because even though, yes, I got the audio and the video and people would kill to see that.
Yeah.
I don't have the photos.
Different.
I don't
know.
have the photos.
It really is different because video you really only watch a couple times.
Right.
A photo I look at every day. I've got a shitload. See all those bootlegs there? That's tons of Zeppelin and Skynyrd and everything at their fucking peaks.
And we don't watch them.
I watch them once and then I'm good. But these
we look at
photos,
all the time.
Man.
But they now have technology to rip photos off a video. And one way I was thinking of doing is put it on a projector, like not a TV, but a projector on the wall.
Yep.
Shut all the lights off and get a tripod and literally shoot it because you won't get the lines of resolution like you would on a TV.
Right.
And they won't be as sharp, but you can still get some really good images. And I'm on the verge of going back and looking back at some videos.
Wow, that'd be radical.
And ripping some photos off of those videos because I think the photo is more powerful than the video.
It really is. It really is. Well, I loved your photos. I want to get some. They blow my mind. And also, please go to Canter's if you're in Hollywood. Go visit it.
We sell the book there too.
They sell the book there, and it's
autographed copies.
It's a rock and roll establishment as much as the Rainbow is, and almost cooler because really hip people go to Canter's right now. And have a drink in the bar and see a band on Tuesday night or comedy on Monday. They do comedy, and they got an incredible jukebox, and they got a great fucking sandwich. Thanks for coming down,
It's all about
Mark.
the corned beef Reuben.
That's right. Now, where you got a website or anything other than that?
No, I had one built, but it's not. It's down right now. But I just use. I have a Facebook. You can reach me on my Facebook if you want to. But
there you go, Marc Canter Facebook. Yeah, and also I think you should have a Twitter, man. Once a day, tweet up a photo.
I do have a Twitter, and what I do is on an anniversary of a date of a show, I twit that photo.
Oh, you do?
That, on every anniversary.
Yeah. What's your Twitter?
28 years ago today. I think it's Reckless Road.
Okay, cool.
I think it's Reckless Road. Reckless Road at Twitter, or I don't think it's Marc Canter, but I think it's Reckless Road.
Thanks for sharing your stories, man. I mean, it was great. I didn't even know who the fuck you are. I love your book. I was talking to Bill Burr about it today. He's a huge comedian. I go, yeah, Marc Canter's coming. Oh, I love that book. I bought it. I love it. So people have it, and it's a rock and roll treasure.
Well, yeah, the book is 50 gigs of GNR for pretty much their first 50 gigs, and it starts with Slash
high school,
and it ends right as they take off in 1986, basically the end of 1986 to really March of '87 at the Whiskey was the last gig they played. And I give you one tidbit at them at Giant Stadium where they filmed Paradise City video shoot, just because I was there, and even though it kind of takes you out of the club days, but it just goes with my story. So, and it was cool.
Yeah, it was really epic, iconic white leather jacket. I mean, no one was wearing a white leather jacket.
It gives you the highlight of so that's how Axl's different. The band was all given black leather jackets, and Axl said, "I want a white one." So Axl is the Mac.
Recently, one of the leather jackets sold on eBay. Did you see that? So he had one, and they had made a second.
Oh, a spare one, yeah.
A spare one, and it was on eBay, man. I wanted that fucking thing so bad. Someone bought it.
I got Slash's jacket, by the way. That same jacket. And it says Slash on it.
Oh.
He gave it to me because he actually didn't want it because it
You got it framed?
No, I don't have it framed, but it weighs a ton.
Yeah.
And it probably didn't fit him because he's a little bit bigger than me.
Yeah.
And it fit me okay. But I think the reason why he didn't want it is because he didn't want to be like part of the gang where it says Slash on his jacket.
Yeah.
He'd wear it if it didn't say Slash. But because they put his name on it, now he doesn't want it. That's how Slash is. He's very humble about certain things.
You seen Slash lately?
I saw Slash like 2 months ago. He came into Canter's to have lunch.
Tell him I said hi. I want him on my show.
I will.
I love him, man. Old
Slash
school.
is by far the busiest person I know.
Yeah, I hear you. I got great photos of me and Slash.
I see him once. I see him like once a year because he's just too busy.
Yeah.
I don't even see him when he's playing a gig.
Fuck.
That's how busy he is.
Well, thanks for coming down, man.
All right, see you next time.
Right there he is, Marc Canter. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Let There Be Talk, one of my favorite episodes. That was great, huh? All right, tell a friend, guys. Rock and roll.